Hey folks, well, actually, folks, I guess still folks, Pete Pickney and Chris Penning, I just want to thank both of you fellows because you're my first and right now only subscribers to Patreon. I'm thinking about other things, of course, as always. And I just want to give you a little tour of my office because kind of give you an idea of what my environment is like here. It's pretty crowded, but it's pretty interesting. I do a lot of really cool stuff here, and I surround myself with old things because old things tend to be a little bit safer right now, in my opinion. So, just a little kind of look around. These are some of the things I'm going to scan today for you. There's an old ledger. There's an old passport, German passport from Berchtesgaden in Germany. And if you know much about World War II, you're probably familiar with that. We have another World War II item over here. This is a letter from the Bombardier aboard, and I think it's their B-24s is what they were flying. Some old photographs from World War I. This is 35 millimeter slides from a guy named Daryl Greenemeyer. He was pretty famous for a lot of different reasons. Not extremely famous, but if you're into old airplanes, you'll know about him probably. An aircraft called Kiwi Bird, I think, made him pretty famous. Glass negatives, celluloid negatives, magic lantern slides. There's an old photograph of Fair Oaks, California. I lived not very far away from there. And a few articles out of an old 1919 Popular Mechanics. First off, I want to say this is the what I call station number 3, because this is where I do. It's not the most important work I do, but it's the majority of my time used to be spent here scanning these kind of items. I don't do a lot of that anymore because I'm primarily focused on film, but that's an Epson V700 scanner that I use, and I use that for everything from positive films to reflective films, transparencies, negative films, just about anything that you can put on that flatbed I scan. And then we go up here and there's a old Mitsubishi VCR, and I do a lot of scanning for VCRs and this sort of thing because there's a lot of really interesting stuff. It's not but maybe about 20 years old, most of it, but it's still pretty interesting. That's a Windows 7 computer that I used up there. I built about 5-6 years ago, and still does a fair amount of work for me because because it has FireWire and hooks up to this little white box here. That's primarily what its duty is to do the VHS work. And then, of course, I surround myself, as I said, with old stuff. That's a very old 35 millimeter kids projector right there. And those little tins are full of, they have little 35 millimeter films in them. That was from Japan. And some old books. Some of them are from around the Civil War era, this sort of thing. What else I got going up there? An old PT boat. Reminds me of Kennedy every time I see it. And one of these days, I'll probably try and finish that thing off. It's a remote control from about 1960. And then we go on down over to here, and this is this little operation here, and you'll see me use it in the future here. But this little setup is for it's a automatic film rewind, and there's a little pedal on the floor right there. I can hit, and these are chemicals that I use to clean film with. This stuff is like to get it, it's $100 and some odd a bottle just to get it shipped to the house. the cost of the stuff included. This is an old splicer, and this is pretty interesting because, let me see if it's, I still got it on the back of it. That is NBC News close-up. So that's where they were, that I guess close-up folks had that in their section. My favorite soda, Squirt. I drink a bunch of that. I shouldn't. This is station number 2, and this is where I do all of my heavy lifting. I scan all. You can see the Will Robinson, Danger Will Robinson, the robot back there. That's a Windows 10 computer. It's the only one that I have, but it does the heavy lifting as far as scanning my films, and then I do a lot of, there's a film on there right now. That particular film is a, let me see here.
Those sure of foot and blade, speed on. Here in the open, they race with...
But I edit all my films on that, as far as I take out all of the flaws, and I do the color adjustments, and sometimes I'm not real good at that. I think sometimes I might be colorblind, I'm not sure. That film coming out green, not good. At any rate, that happens off and on, and I apologize for it, but it's the content we're after. At any rate, and I say that a lot, I can't help it, it's just one of my habits. This is an interesting film about ice skating. It's made by Castle Films, I guess. And it'll be coming up very soon. In fact, I'm working on it now. Like I said, all the heavy lifting and upscaling of the films from a lower resolution to a higher resolution so that we can put them on for high def. And then I do some colorization of photographs and this sort of thing on this computer. But for the most part, that's all it handles is film and a few photographs. Up here are all my adapters on the bottom shelf here for this machine to do the different film gauges, and I can do 17.5, you can see there, 8mm, Super 8mm, 9.5. I can't do 35mm, which is a real bummer because I have some cool 35mm stuff to do, and I cannot do the 28mm, and I have some really cool 28mm I've done by hand off of this, where is it? I built this adapter, and maybe you may have seen it in one of the films that I did, but I built this adapter so that I can, come on, open up you, so that I can do 35mm, but I can only do, for a 3-minute 35mm film, it takes me about 4 days. And that's constantly scanning, frame by frame by frame. And it would fit right about there if I take all this off here. So that's an adapter I built for 35mm film. I'm hoping through the Patreon thing, and up here, those are all full of stuff that I've scanned over the years, and I have terabytes of material that I've scanned that are waiting just for folks like you to see them. And 35mm slides, glues and oils and stuff, and more paper, and that's not even a small amount of the paper I've got. There's a old vintage paper that's this thing right here. I don't know if you can see in there or not. I can't see, but it's full of antique and vintage paper stuff. And then film and film, and it keeps on going down. There's 3 more drawers down here, and they're all full of film as well. This chair is an interesting chair. If you know of a guy named, oh hell, well, the name escapes me, but Earl Stanley Gardner, there we go. That used to belong to him. It was in his house, and that Panama hat back there was his as well. Earl Stanley Gardner wrote the original Perry Mason series, or that was his idea, and those other writers as well. But of course, that's my wife back there, my lovely wife. I have, like I said, antique stuff everywhere. That's something I made up there on top. Someday I'll bring it down and explain it. But let me see if there's anything else over here. Oh, well, actually, that brings me to this. This is actually station number 1, and this is where I do almost all of my custom editing, where I get to be the most creative. Whereas the Windows 10 computer digitizes just what I digitize. It cleans up what I digitize from other sources. Here I actually create different things, and you've seen some of that work. So it's everything I've learned. I didn't graduate high school. I've said that before, and I have to keep on saying it because I think the reason is because I'm not a pro at this. I am okay at it, but just barely. And so where I'm lacking, I need to blame that on the fact that I didn't learn through conventional sources. I learned all of this on my own. So what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to show you how I scan each and everything, but I'm going to show you a few of the items that I scan them. And I did some screenshots or screen captures as I was doing it, and then also showed you scans of or filmed the scanner actually operating. You know, I want you to kind of get an idea of what I go through time-wise just to scan some of this stuff. It's just a really long time it takes to do this. So without further ado, we'll get back to that. That's last thing here is that this came out of a Chinese camp in a place called Auburn, California, if you're not familiar with it. Again, Auburn is not very far from where I live. As a matter of fact, a letter from the bomber guy I'm going to read to you is from Auburn, California as well. But we're talking half a century away. So, well, if it's one thing I've learned over the past couple of years is that you don't really want to make too many videos over 10 minutes long, and this one's already about 13 minutes. So I'm going to leave you with this last little bit here. We'll do the scanning and stuff on the next video. It'll be part 2 to this one, and I'll try and get it out tomorrow or the next day. Meanwhile, you can look forward to stuff like this. It's pretty interesting. I love these old magazines. They show us where we've been. No history revisionists got a hold of it, changed it. It's all there. Grape nut cereal. Now, this one right here is pretty cool too. This is 1938, and we have Claudette Colbert. She's gonna talk us into a case of lung cancer. Sure glad I quit that habit. Anyway, see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.